Tonight, unanswered questions and rumors swirling around Quadville 1 week after a suspected animal attack seriously injured a young girl.
Was it an animal attack? Was it something else? We just want answers, and we want to know if our kids are safe.
Police now setting up animal traps as investigators still work to determine what happened. Legally cracking a cold one at several parks across the city.
As long as it's not a disturbance, I don't see a problem with it.
In this particular park, the reaction has not been good.
As Ottawa deals with another hot, humid weekend, residents flock to some of the 8 city parks where you can now drink booze. And a show of cross-border friendship amid tense trade negotiations.
We just wanted to come today to this side to let my Canadian family know we support them.
A friendship flotilla cruises up north from south of the border. Good evening. We begin tonight with the ongoing investigation in Quadville after an 8-year-old girl was airlifted to CHEO in life-threatening condition following what police suspect was an animal attack. Over a week later, residents in the small community are still looking for answers. CTV's Josh Morano was there earlier today. And Josh, what were you hearing?
Yeah, Austin, residents are still in shock and trying to understand what exactly happened. Some tell me they aren't given enough information by police. However, they say there's strength in numbers coming together in support to try and raise money for the family during this difficult time. A mystery still remains in Quadville.
We just want to know what happened.
After a suspected animal attack left an 8-year-old girl with life-threatening injuries more than 1 week ago.
Everybody knew the girls. You always saw them running around, riding their bikes in the town. And it just touches your heart to, little girl being viciously attacked like that. And I think, people they're searching for ways to help.
Down the road, Christine Hutter and her 3 kids are raising money for the girl's family with a lemonade stand in just a few hours, collecting over $200.
It was really important for him to be involved and hold this fundraiser for a classmate of his. And the other boys just wanted to get involved. The neighbors wanted to get involved. And we've been making a lot of money, which is great. And we hope it helps the family in some small way.
Along with a GoFundMe setup that has raised over $17,000, a fundraiser dinner was held at the town's community center.
I hope this really helps this family. What more can we do in the days to come? Lots. Because we're a community that gets together.
But residents say they're still looking for answers. While the OPP says it suspects an animal attacked the girl, officers have set up traps in the surrounding area. Residents wonder what kind of animal could have done this and whether it's safe outside for their children.
We've been keeping them inside a little bit more, and with no further information, it's kind of frustrating. They want to go outside. They want to be out there with their friends, the neighbors, and they can't really unless we're there with them every single time.
People feel that there's an investigation going on, and they're just getting nothing. And I think we are entitled to more than what we're getting.
Hutter says she will continue to support the family, but hopes they get some more details soon.
We would love to know, was it an animal attack? Was it something else? We just want answers, and we want to know if our kids are safe.
OPP says it is working with the Ministry of Natural Resources and animal experts to identify the cause of the attack. Police also say they are looking for a possible witness who was in the area prior to the attack. More information can be found at ctvnewsottawa.ca. Austin.
Okay, Josh, thank you for this. CTV's Josh Morano reporting live for us tonight. Well, turning now to a tragedy on the St. Lawrence River that claimed the life of a toddler. The Leeds County Detachment of the Ontario Provincial Police says they were called out to Wolf Island near Stony Point Lane shortly after 9:30 Friday morning for a report of an unresponsive girl. Family members and first responders immediately initiated life-saving measures. The toddler was transported to a regional trauma center where they were later pronounced dead. No other information has been released. And a home in Richmond was significantly damaged in an early morning house fire that started in the garage. Ottawa Fire Services says they received multiple 911 calls reporting a house on fire in the 500 block of Philly Terrace at around 3:45 this morning. It took about 30 minutes for firefighters to get the situation under control. Paramedics also responded to the scene, but officials say no injuries have been reported. A Canada-wide warrant has been issued for a suspect wanted in connection with the murder of a 69-year-old woman in the Greater Toronto area. The woman died in a house fire in Pickering, just northeast of Toronto, on June 11th. Investigators ruled her death a homicide. Later in June, police arrested and charged 34-year-old Sandra Cochino with accessory after the fact to murder. Now, police are searching for 35-year-old Elston Cochino, who is charged with second-degree murder. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to come forward. It's been another hot and humid day here in Ottawa. That's really the story of the summer so far, and we probably should get used to it because it's going to be lingering around for a while. It's 29 degrees right now, and we do have a chance of some showers later on throughout this evening. Tonight's low getting down to just 21, so not too much change for the overnight hours. You can see that chance of rain carrying over into Brockville as well with that same low tonight of 21 degrees. Gatineau 21, Montreal is going to be the warm spot even tonight at 24 degrees. Kemptville getting some rain as well at 21 degrees. Tomorrow warming up quite extensively. 33 is the high. There is a risk of some thunderstorm, and we also are going to be hovering around 41 when you factor in the humidex tomorrow. So it's going to be one of those swampy days, whether you're in Ottawa or whether you're in Gatineau. The kind of day you're probably, if you can, going to want to stay in and just enjoy some air conditioning. And with that hot weather here in the nation's capital, many are outside enjoying the sunshine and the blue skies. It's also a chance to crack a cold one legally in 8 city parks under a pilot project here in Ottawa. CTV's Natalie Van Roy checked in on how it's going so far since that pilot project went into effect on July 1st. Natalie.
Well, Austin, it's week 1 for the change, and as the new rules went into effect only 4 days ago, some people say they were drinking in parks already, while others have concerns about the move.
At Minto Park, Robbie Falto is enjoying an alcoholic beverage with friends.
I think that most people in general are pretty cool. They don't mind having a few drinks and not being a disturbance.
On July 1st, it became legal to drink in 8 of Ottawa's city parks.
We were doing this anyways, but it's great to know that it's finally officially being seen as not a huge problem to society.
The locations include Minto Park, McNabb, Queenswood Ridge, Lansdowne, River Range, Strathcona, Brewer, and Champlain Park.
I think that it's not too big of a deal for me, but I know that it could be influential to some kids if people are drinking like really early on and if they get really rowdy.
There are rules in place for the pilot project. You can't consume alcohol within 5 meters of playgrounds, splash pads, beaches, rinks, playing fields, skate parks, tennis courts, or parking lots.
I think I used to live in Europe, and public drinking was a lot more accepted, so I think it's all right, but everyone needs to sort of play by the rules.
I think that as long as the right authorities are here and everything is kept safe and clean, I think that it's a good opportunity for the community to kind of be out in the spaces and enjoy the parks and whatnot.
What's not allowed is selling, supplying, or serving alcohol without a permit. But not everyone is on board with the move.
This particular park serves such a young population.
There are concerns about public drinking being a risk to the family-friendly area in Old Ottawa South.
It's really related to the children who access this park, and possibly in the evening we have youth, some teenagers and young adults, and they're a bit concerned about what the park will look like the morning after.
While others think not much will change.
I haven't seen anyone do it since it's become allowed. But like I say, my son and his friends used to come to this park and drink all the time when there was no legislation.
Well, there's also designated hours in place for the pilot project. You can only drink in the listed parks from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Austin.
Okay, CTV's Natalie Van Roy reporting live for us tonight. Natalie, thank you for this. And with all of those parks now allowing alcohol during those hours, some will be looking for a nice bottle of wine for their next picnic. And Why not make it a Canadian wine? With trade tension with the United States, many are looking to spend their money closer to home, and we wanted to bring in CTV's Kimberly Johnson now, who's back in studio. After visiting different businesses in the region, Kimberly, what are you hearing from business owners?
Austin, trade tension between Canada and the U.S. has been high for months, and some businesses say the Buy Canadian campaign has proven to be a big help. One store owner I spoke with even says Canada Day and the renewed sense of patriotism that it brought didn't hurt either.
Cheers. The ongoing trade war with the United States has Darren Cassidy focusing his hard-earned dollars here at home. And today that includes a staycation tasting at Kin Vineyards in Carp.
We feel proud to be Canadian, and so we'll do our best to support the Canadian businesses.
Months on, Ottawa businesses say the Buy Canadian campaign has helped them weather the uncertainty of the past year.
We've seen a 25% increase overall in our sales in general.
Liam Mastersmith says the vineyard has seen new visitors coming from across Ontario and Quebec. It's also translated to more sales at the LCBO. They say in-store sales have jumped 325%. They've more than tripled the amount of LCBO stores ordering from them and sell as far as Toronto and Mississauga.
We did $9,000 in sales to the LCBO, and we're up to around $23,000 now. So it's good. That's not huge numbers by any means, but it's good. It's great to have that kind of sales channel for a small business like us. You know, those numbers mean something. It's a great trend that you're seeing just generally in the wine industry towards buying locally and buying Canadian wines.
Over in Hintonburg, the owner of Maker House seeing an 80% jump in sales this year over last.
Which is phenomenal. And even the last week, leading up to Canada Day and the last few days after, we've seen that continue, maybe even up a little higher for this period.
That's showing up in both in-store and online sales.
It feels great to know that more people are finding us because they're looking for Canadian made. And in turn, our makers, hundreds of Canadian companies, are also getting more new customers and more attention.
The store sells only Canadian-made goods, half of those from Ottawa artists, which is important for these customers.
And I know whenever I come here, that's what I'm going to get, so I'm really appreciative of that.
Both companies have celebrated at least a decade in business and say that they hope to see this trend continue because it's really important for small retailers like theirs. Austin?
Absolutely. CTV's Kimberly Johnson reporting live for us tonight. Kimberly, thank you for this. And an Elbows Up rally was held an hour south of Ottawa today along the shore of the St. Lawrence River in Prescott, but it was not organized by Canadians. CTV's Jack Richardson explains.
This is a friendship flotilla organized by residents from Ogdensburg, a small town along the St. Lawrence River in New York State.
In solidarity with my Canadian friends, my family, half of my family lives over here.
For these Americans, it's their way of showing support for their next door neighbors.
I fish a lot on the Canadian side. You've got better fishing over here.
Michelle Wellen is a dual citizen living in New York State, but her mom was born and raised on the Canadian side of the river in Brockville. That's why she chose to spend Saturday's rally in Canada.
We just wanted to come today to this side to let my Canadian family know we support them. It's been a good, friendly relationship. So it's distressing to see some of the stuff that's going on now from our side.
This show of support from residents in Ogdensburg, New York is indicative of the tight relationship that border towns along the St. Lawrence River share. Some of them have family members on the Canadian side and just want to show that what's happened politically over the past 6 months isn't indicative of how they feel about their neighbors to the north.
If you live in a border community, you know how important the relationship is between the U.S. and Canada. We don't want Canadians to feel uncomfortable coming across the border.
Persistent comments made by U.S. President Donald Trump about his desire to make Canada the 51st state is conflicting for people in towns like Ogdensburg.
It's an uncomfortable feeling. We almost feel like we have to apologize and we have to say, this is not who America is.
Jack Richardson, CTV News, Prescott.
70 high school girls from across Canada are participating in Ottawa's first ever overnight hackathon. It's a competition. They don't sleep at all, and they are working together to build video games. CTV's Camille Wilson was there.
Batman?
Staying up all night to play video games may sound like a teenager's dream, but when it's a hackathon game jam, it's about more than just playing games. For Sarah Shirazi, this is her first time attending this type of event.
I wanted the opportunity to program something interesting, design a game of my own with the support of my friends, of course. I'm not very good at coding, and I really wanted to just get better, and I feel like practice is the way to do that.
70 students, 25 hours, one goal, all divided into groups competing to build a video game from scratch. Shirazi says she just wants to make something she can be proud of.
I want the experience of it type person, and so I would really enjoy the opportunity to make something, as well as the opportunity to meet so many other people. I see so many familiar faces, but there are also so many people I don't know, and I would really like to make new friends and really just get to know the other people who are interested in similar things to me.
With no previous experiences, the ladies will build their game through trial and error with coding, collaboration, imagination, and their creativity.
Have no coding experience? Go to Haya.
Within these next 25 hours, they will get to have fun, but most importantly, learn through workshops and how to code. They will learn CSS, HTML, and different engines and languages. And at the end, I hope that everyone can build a game that they're proud of.
It's the first ever all-girls hackathon in Ottawa, highlighting an industry that is generally male-dominated.
I'm gonna write down some key ideas on my notebook, sketch out what I want the game to look like, and just go on Canva and start designing it before I start coding it, so that I have all the designs out of the way before I start coding.
Through it all, plenty of learning opportunities.
To make sure that we're taking intermittent 5 to 10 minute breaks in between, because otherwise you kind of walk away from it and you come back and you see something totally new and you're like, oh wait, I should do this.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
Seems like you're good.
So far, we've evacuated over 850 uninjured people, 8 injured people, and have recovered 27 deceased fatalities at this time.
When we return, the death toll in Texas is continuing to rise. That death toll now at least 32 after a catastrophic flood triggered by a powerful storm submerged part of that state. And here's a live look now through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. It is currently 29 degrees. Heartbreaking news out of Texas, where the death toll in a disaster flooding situation has risen to 32, including 14 children. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed an expanded disaster declaration, adding several more counties. He's also seeking a federal disaster declaration as the search continues for those who are still missing.
This document is a request for a federal disaster declaration coming from the governor to seek the immediate and ongoing help of the federal government.
Abbott vows crews will continue to search around the clock to make sure all of those who are missing are found. A short time ago, we heard the grim news about those who perished.
What I can tell you, an update, there's 32 deceased. 18 of those are adults and 14 are children. 5 of the adults remain unidentified and 3 children remain unidentified. We are still working on that this time. As I said earlier this morning, the numbers are going to continue to change. They're going to continue to change till we're done.
Authorities have evacuated, rescued, or recovered some 850 people. Some of them were clinging to trees. The governor is praising Texans for coming together. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says FEMA is standing by at an enhanced level. She also says Texas has requested more fixed-wing aircraft from the U.S. Coast Guard to come in and help in the search. The federal government will also send more helicopters in to help look for those missing individuals. President Donald Trump says his administration is working with state and local officials on the ground, adding he and the First Lady are praying for all of the families impacted by this disaster. And Prime Minister Mark Carney posting on X saying the news out of Texas following major flash flooding is just devastating. Canadians are mourning with the loved ones of those killed, those still missing, and the entire Kerr County community. We're grateful for the first responders leading rescue efforts in incredibly difficult conditions. Meanwhile, additional flash flood emergencies have been issued in central Texas today as the heavy rain continues to fall. The area typically receives about 25 centimeters of rain over a period of 3 months, but the recent downpour saw 19 centimeters in just 3 hours' time. Closer to home, wildfires continue to rage across the country.
Very challenging conditions as far as digging in really deep in some of those organic soils in the boreal forest.
There are more than 76 wildfires burning in British Columbia. The Yzma Creek fire threatening Lytton is still considered out of control, but remains at 155 hectares. There are fears it could grow with hot, dry temperatures and high winds in the forecast for this weekend. The fire is confirmed to have been sparked by a wheel that flew off an RCMP trailer.
It's not a question of if it'll burn the line, it's just a question of when.
In Manitoba, for the second time this year, a northern community has been forced to evacuate. Lynn Lake announced a mandatory evacuation for about 600 people yesterday. It comes less than 2 weeks after residents returned from their first evacuation.
Praying that we don't get an east wind, because if it's an east wind, then it's coming directly to our village.
And in Saskatchewan, changing weather conditions are complicating the province's wildfire response. Voluntary evacuation orders have been upgraded to mandatory for 5 villages and First Nations communities. The province could also be facing a lawsuit for allegedly not responding adequately to devastating wildfires last month. And as all of those fires burn, air quality statements and warnings are becoming increasingly more normal right across the country. Tonight, air quality warnings are in place in parts of the prairies, and as CTV's Jeremy Charon tells us, they come as federal, provincial, and territorial governments act to strengthen air quality standards here in this country.
Smoke-covered skies and haze-filled horizons have become a summer standard in many parts of the country. Frequent air quality warnings prompted by Canadian wildfires.
Certainly in the West, they've had some terrible times with the looking, the feeling, and the tasting of what summer is like.
Climate change is increasing wildfire risk and affecting all regions.
Addressing those air quality concerns was a key focus of a meeting this week by the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment.
Canadians want to be assured that they have clean air in their communities, and together as a group, we've been able to take action.
Federal, provincial, and territorial environment ministers together endorsed stronger air quality standards, agreeing to lower the threshold for fine particulate matter in the air required to trigger a statement or warning.
Strong science-based national standards help ensure we're prepared for these challenges and support long-term health and resilience.
The move, applauded by this respirologist, aims to protect communities from the impacts of poor air quality.
For people with chronic lung disease, every little bit of fine particulate air pollution they're breathing in is hastening their death.
While the new standard agreed on by ministers isn't legally binding, Dr. Sean Aaron believes stronger air quality standards could be a tool used to take further action.
If the air quality is consistently going above that threshold, then presumably what they can do is they can enact legislation to improve the air quality locally.
While improving air quality standards won't help stop wildfires or get rid of the smoke impacting air quality in parts of the country, experts say this move will help hold industrial polluters accountable. Jeremy Charon, CTV News, Ottawa.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he has discussed sanctions with Russia's president after voicing frustration over Vladimir Putin's failure to end the fighting in Ukraine.
I would say he's not thrilled with it, but, he's been able to handle sanctions, but these are pretty biting sanctions. I'd like to see it happen. I don't want to see 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 soldiers killed every week. And you have other people, but for the most part, so far it's been mostly soldiers, and they're Ukrainian soldiers and they're also Russian soldiers. But it's 5,000 souls, and they're being killed every single week. I think I'm tougher on Russia than I was on almost any other country.
In the past few days, Trump has repeated he's, quote, very unhappy about his call with Putin on Thursday. Russia pummeled Kyiv with the largest drone attack of the war across the capital hours after Trump's conversation with Putin. Trump says he's also spoken with Ukraine, and the country needs Patriot missiles for its defenses. That's something Ukraine has been asking Washington for more of, along with systems it says are key to defending Ukraine's cities from intensifying Russian airstrikes. The U.S. announced this week it's halting some weapons shipments to Ukraine. Well, a Canadian family is looking for a way home following a disaster at sea. They had been living on a sailboat for years when the weather turned against them. CTV's John Woodward has that story.
This video from the U.S. Coast Guard shows a dream voyage's tragic end, run aground on a reef in the Bahamas. The vessel Mischief was the pride and joy of Krista Shaw and Tony Bryant, who spent years working in Toronto, saving up to set sail for a life at sea they documented on Instagram.
We were part of the downtown Toronto rat race for 9 years.
Got on the move at 6:30
By
this morning.
2023, they were working remotely from the sailboat deck and showing their 8-year-old daughter Adelaide the world.
Every place we'd go to, there'd be something different. Like there's dolphins jumping off the bow. Like we'd learn about dolphins.
Then on Sunday, some 5,000 nautical miles from where they began, it was the weather making mischief. Their vessel was blown off course into a reef in the Bahamas. Waves battered the vessel. It took on water through a hull breach. They frantically put Adelaide in the life raft.
It's something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. But she turned to me and she said, "Dad, are we going to die?" I said, "Not tonight, kiddo. We ain't dying tonight."
A passing ship heard their mayday calls via flashlights and flares and called the U.S. Coast Guard, which launched a helicopter.
Shockingly, the most amazing noise I've ever heard, hearing a helicopter approaching.
By 2:30 in the morning, the family was hoisted into the chopper.
I'm sure it was very scary for her because the noise and the spray of the whipping water. And I think at that point for me, it was the moment where I was like, okay, we're going to be okay.
They're alive and grateful, though almost everything they owned is in the ocean.
We need to get some identification so we can fly, or anything so we can fly back to Canada.
Heartbreaking for them to see the sailboat Mischief, their home for almost 3 years, wrecked on the reef.
The next step for this family, replacing lost passports and getting back to Canada. They've started a GoFundMe page to help with expenses in the Bahamas and on the journey home, and they're hoping that Canada's global affairs staff will come through. John Woodward, CTV News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney flipped some pancakes in a cowboy hat as part of the Calgary Stampede tradition.
I've been in Ottawa. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do another one. I'm practicing. I got a little cocky there.
Bit of a tough flip. It's Carney's first trip to the Stampede as Prime Minister. He will head to a Liberal Party fundraiser later in the day. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is scheduled to attend the Canada First Stampede barbecue in the city later this evening.
What we want is for all governments to come together and just break down those barriers, implement sweeping mutual recognition, which will allow the flow of goods and services from all jurisdictions.
Straight ahead, grading the provinces on their efforts to remove interprovincial trade barriers. A lot of focus in Canada right now about reducing interprovincial trade barriers. Ontario has been active on that front, and now a new report is grading provinces on their efforts to boost internal trade. That report gave our province an A, with memorandums of understanding in place with several other provinces, including Saskatchewan, a province rich in natural resources. CTV's Laura Woodward has more.
Saskatchewan is making headway on breaking down trade barriers within Canada, but it's falling behind other provinces. That's according to an annual report card by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Nova Scotia topped the rankings with an A grade after becoming the first province to pass mutual recognition legislation. Saskatchewan not far behind, earning a B-.
We would consider Saskatchewan to be a leader on internal trade.
Last month, Saskatchewan signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with Ontario, committing to remove trade barriers between the two jurisdictions.
The dialogue, the exchange of data and know-how actually propels towards even better common platforms.
The CFIB says the MOU is a start, but what's really needed to make a difference is legislation.
What we really want to see is them go one step further than simple MOUs. If we start signing MOUs with every province, then we're going to end up with this patchwork of legislation that really doesn't help reduce red tape. So what we want is for all governments to come together and just break down those barriers, implement sweeping mutual recognition, which will allow the flow of goods and services from all jurisdictions.
CTV News has reached out to Saskatchewan's Ministry of Trade and Export, but did not hear back by deadline. The CFIB says it will continue monitoring how provinces take steps to boost trade with each other. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
It's the kind of day that feels like you're I don't know, walking through like some thick soup or something, like, because it's super humid out there and it's only getting worse. Tomorrow is going to be a scorcher. Let's take a look at the satellite radar. We do have a chance of some showers over the course of tonight and into tomorrow. You can see heat warnings on parts of the map there for today. Now, we are seeing some relatively seasonal or just below seasonal temperatures in St. John's, 18 degrees there with some rain, 20 in Charlottetown and 23 in Halifax. The heat really kicks into high gear here in Ontario, Windsor being the hotspot at 32 degrees today, and we're going to have some of that in store for tomorrow. Toronto's getting that rain that I mentioned creeping up towards the capital region over the next 24 hours or so. We're currently sitting at 28 degrees, Quebec City at 18. Calgary out in the prairies, 19 degrees for Calgary Stampede, so pretty manageable temperatures. They've had some scorchers in the past, but I don't think anyone will be complaining at 19 degrees. 21 currently on the west coast in Vancouver. Here in Ottawa, as I mentioned, that chance of showers, south-southwest. That's going to be the wind coming in at 14 kilometers an hour. 21 is the low this evening. 33 is the high for tomorrow, and a chance of potential thunderstorms, definitely a chance of showers. And it's the same story in the Ottawa Valley with that high of 29 degrees once they get past that low tonight of 21. 21 is the low in the Seaway too, and it's a high of 33. So pretty much copy and paste, but some stronger wind there with a mix of sun and cloud, less chance of rain along the Seaway. But again, some stronger wind around 24 kilometers per hour. So starting our work week off with a 60% chance of showers, and it will cool down rather significantly. 22 is the high to start on Monday. 25 is the high on Tuesday, and then the rain likely to return before next weekend. Well, there's nothing like a new sundress or a new linen shirt to beat that summer heat. But while you may be tempted to cut off the tags and wear your new purchases right away, there are good reasons to put them in the washing machine first. CTV's Pat Foran explains.
When you buy new clothes, do you wash them first or wear them right away?
Usually I take the clothes and I wash it first.
Anything that is coming from the store, I would like to make it clean.
And that's the best move. New clothes may look clean, but you should wash them before putting them on. Consumer Reports says you should be washing all new clothing purchases, including your delicates like undergarments.
It might seem unnecessary to wash all the new clothes you buy, but there are really good reasons to do it. For example, chemicals from the manufacturing and finishing process can still be on the fabric, and for someone with sensitive skin, that can cause irritation.
That's especially true for babies. Their skin is more delicate and sensitive than adults, which means they're more vulnerable to harsh chemicals left behind in new clothing.
So you're not just wearing a new outfit, you're wearing everything it picked up along the way.
A lot of the clothes we buy are made overseas and pass through a long supply chain. Once they arrive at the store, they're handled, unpacked, and tried on. Along the way, they can pick up dust, dirt, and even bugs. So how do you wash new clothing the right way? Laundry expert Richard Handel has some advice.
Wash clothes with similar colors together. Some brightly colored garments can bleed or fade during the first wash. Washing in cold or cool water and the gentle cycle can minimize that and also reduce the risk of shrinking.
Handel also recommends using a gentle detergent, especially for people with sensitive skin. And don't forget to check the care label. Following those instructions will help keep your clothes looking newer longer. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Get an alarm system, get cameras if you can, the Ring doorbell.
After the break, security experts warning homeowners to think before they post online, especially when on vacation, which could attract some unwelcome guests to your empty home. Well, in case you missed it this week, the south end of the city just got way more fun. Smashing guitars and lots of fanfare marked this week's opening of the highly anticipated Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Ottawa. An expanded gaming floor, restaurants, bars, and a 1,900-seat performance venue. CTV's Peter Sperling had a look at the revamped space, showcasing that signature music memorabilia.
It's not a ribbon cutting. This is a guitar smash. Marking the opening of the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Ottawa.
The day is finally here.
Gord and Michelle traveled from Kingston just for the opening, but this isn't their first time in a Hard Rock.
This is number 180 something for us.
Some very limited pins.
The couple travels the world visiting many locations. And what do you think of this one?
Oh, this is fantastic.
Fantastic.
The
rooms are incredible.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Well, it's our first Canadian fully integrated resort. They haven't spared any expense. It's just incredible.
After years of construction delays due to COVID, the $350 million project finally complete.
And I think we've got something that exceeds what we promised to the City of Ottawa and the province of Ontario and the country of Canada. But obviously, we'll let the general public make that decision.
As you enter, a giant lit-up guitar sets the theme. The resort offering dining areas from casual to fancy, like this steakhouse, and of course, the iconic Hard Rock Cafe.
So for me, this is my little slice of heaven. I mean, what I remember when I was a kid was going to a Hard Rock Cafe.
This hotel lobby, gateway to 150 rooms. Multiple entertainment venues, including this 1,900-seat theater where the opening took place.
Are you ready?
Co-hosted by CTV Morning Live's Rosietta. And where David Foster and Catherine McPhee will perform Thursday night and Avril Lavigne on Saturday. Music memorabilia everywhere.
And the big attraction, gaming. There are tables from blackjack to roulette and, of course, slot machines. There are 1,000 of them here, and that number only increased with Phase 2.
The new facility, a destination for visitors and also providing 700 new jobs.
Means a lot for Ottawa. It's a great day for our city. It's a huge investment from the Hard Rock.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
Well, people are being urged to think twice before sharing their summer vacation photos on social media. An insurance company is warning that you may be putting yourself and your home at risk by sharing too much online. CTV's Vanessa Wright explains.
When social media influencer Hannah Logan took a trip to Greece last month, she shared a photo with her followers on Instagram showing them the breathtaking beach views, tagging its location. But then something unsettling happened.
A few hours later, when we go to leave and I open my phone and I open Instagram, I have a message from a random guy on the island who's saying, "Oh, hey, I'm here too."
She says nothing escalated, but admits the situation was an eye-opener.
You know, for someone who works in this industry and knows better, that was definitely a reminder. Like, this is why you do not post in real time.
But she isn't the only one. A new poll found nearly 32% of Canadian social media users post about their vacation plans, with 9% posting their plans before a trip, 28% post during their trip, and 15% of people say sharing on social media is more of a priority than keeping their home safe from a break-in.
Quite an alarming statistic because 15% of people actually prioritize putting their pictures for people to know that they're on vacation is more important for them than having their home safe, which it should be it should be 0%.
Security expert Brian McLennan says there are simple things homeowners can do to protect themselves and their property, like have a house sitter. But if that's not possible,
get an alarm system, get cameras if you can. The Ring doorbells or the Google Nests are really good to catch at least something, and if nothing else, just the lights themselves. Like I said, you can put them on different timers, so they flick on at different times.
For those like Logan, where sharing her daily life and travel is a part of her job, she says she'll take precautions moving forward.
I think it's more about, planning and posting smartly. Like, share your vacation and share where you are. Just don't share at exact real time.
Vanessa Wright, CTV News.
Still ahead, dramatic video of a lion attack in Pakistan, sending 3 people to hospital. I'll have the details on that when we come back. Tonight's big picture, shocking footage from the streets of Pakistan showing a lion lunging on a woman. The lion was a pet that escaped. Security footage that you're seeing right now shows it leaping over that wall into a street before chasing and lunging at a woman. It then jumps towards 2 children. The woman suffered injuries, and all 3 of the individuals were taken to hospital. They are all now in stable condition. The Wildlife Department captured the lion and legal action was taken against the owners. Turning now to some other stories you need to know. The Workplace Safety and Insurance Board has reached a tentative deal with the Ontario Compensation Employees Union.
We had been looking for the WSIB to put their best offer forward. We believe they did that in the early hours of this morning after a marathon session through yesterday and all night. The parties were able to get there. So we're looking forward to meeting with our membership later today, conducting a vote over the remainder of the weekend, and hopefully getting people back to work on Monday.
The WSIB provides workplace injury and illness insurance to more than 5.3 million people across 300,000 businesses in Ontario. The tentative deal could bring an end to a labor disruption that's gone on since late May. Terms of the tentative agreement have not been disclosed. They will be released following a ratification vote. Some sweet serenading sounds on the Rideau Canal. The NAC's floating concert series is on now until July 26th on Thursdays and Saturdays. The concerts begin at Paul's Boat Line docks. That's outside the NAC, right under the Rideau Street Bridge, and they go all the way to Lansdowne Park and back.
Trying to cut into the lane, puts up the floater, good!
The Ottawa Blackjacks will be looking for more of that tonight when they take on the Saskatchewan Rattlers in Saskatoon. The Blackjacks have won 4 straight games after a slow start to the season. Saskatchewan has won just 3 games to go with their 11 wins, or rather losses, so far this year. Tip-off for tonight's contest is set for 9:30.
We're looking to promote the race happening at the end of the month on July 27th at Calabogie Motorsports Park, just 1 hour away from Ottawa. Should be a big event. We're expecting 7,000 spectators there. It's the first time the NASCAR Canada Series is coming to the Ottawa Valley.
Fun times in the Byward Market for NASCAR fans today who were able to get up close and personal with a NASCAR Canada Series race car. Fans could also put their knowledge to the test in the Pit Crew Challenge. And as we heard, the event was to promote the NASCAR Canada Series race in Calabogie at the end of this month.
Ecstatic, that's the first word in my mind. And I feel like I'm 12 years old.
Coming up, it's been a long time coming, but swimmers can once again take to the River Seine. We'll have details after the break. And there's a live look right now through our Centennial Glass Skycam. It's currently 29 degrees.
Hairstyles, courtesy of Salon Fiorella.
Here's a recap of the top local stories we're following right now. Residents in Quadville are banding together to support the young girl who was seriously hurt in what's suspected to be an animal attack.
We just want answers, and we want to know if our kids are safe.
Questions still remain as police set up animal traps and work to determine what kind of animal could be responsible.
Very family-oriented. So I'm not in this particular park. The reaction has not been good.
Cracking a cold one legally this hot and humid weekend in the nation's capital. We checked in with some people at some of the 8 city parks where you can now legally drink alcohol.
It's distressing to see some of the stuff that's going on now from our side.
And a gesture of friendship and goodwill. People in Ogdensburg, New York organize a friendship flotilla as Canada-U.S. relations face immense political pressure. And we'll take our last look at the weather forecast, and I've been talking about it all day, but tomorrow is going to be the hottest day of the week, so prepare for that. We do have some potential for thunderstorms before we get there, waking up to about 22 degrees. You see that high tomorrow, 33, going to feel closer to 41 with the Humidex, and then starting our work week off with a high of 22 degrees and a 60% chance of showers. And you can tell that we're not getting much relief in the overnight hours either. The low on Monday is 20 degrees, the high on Tuesday, 25 with cloudy conditions. Time now to check in to see what our team will be working on tonight. Kimberly Fowler's here.
Well, Austin, you mentioned it earlier that the Blackjacks, they're playing in Saskatoon, so we'll check in on that. We'll also be on the lookout for any breaking news here in Ottawa, and we'll have any updates on the flooding in Texas. Sad news out of the U.S. today. Additional flash flood emergencies have been issued in central Texas as heavy rains continues to fall. At least 32 people have died as the relentless search for victims continues from yesterday's catastrophic flood. And you can get the news anytime, anywhere at ctvnewsottawa.ca. Join me tonight for CTV News at 11:30.
Thank you, Kim. We'll look forward to that. And finally for us tonight, a once popular swimming hotspot is back in France.
Yeah, for the first time in more than a century, Parisians and tourists can take a dip in the River Seine.
Ecstatic, that's the first word in my mind. And I feel like I'm 12 years old.
So the waterway has been opened as a summertime swimming spot. The move follows a 1.4 billion with a B euro cleanup project, which made the river suitable for Olympic competitions last year. Prior to today, swimming in the Seine had been illegal since 1923, with very few exceptions. So
would you take a dip in the River Seine?
I absolutely would.
Yeah.
And you know, it reminds me of Dow's Lake. That has a lot of people talking. Would you swim in Dow's Lake?
Maybe. I probably like tread water, keep my head above, because I don't want to get my head
but
wet.
you're going in.
But I'd go in.
Yeah, see, I have no qualms. I'd be going in, no problem. If it
Head
doesn't
first.
kill you, it makes you stronger.
Yeah, it's true.
Strong as heck by the end of that. In the Seine, in Dow's Lake, wherever there's water, I'll be jumping in puddles. I don't know.
Well, whatever floats your boat, man.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.